Yeah, so we're able to get to Missoula, and due to just some snow and the water's up. Water's 3,000 CFS, and so in these first few clips, we're just trying to test it out. And we get pieced out, and so I got 10 minutes of footage, and we're just going to kind of review all this footage. Because I got a cursor, we do surf this wave over here. But this is interesting because when I get here, I have a hard time assessing, what is capable. And we're just going to go back through those clips. The whole idea is to, I'm going to watch this. So this is too much edge angle. And the other thing is I want to make sure that you guys see the clips as I'm talking through it, even if I just go back. So I'm switching from this left side. My left side's my strong side, driving in, and then switching to this off side, and then trying to drive all the way across. So hell yeah. And then there is one that I'm able to do. Now that time I just stayed on the left side, and it's noticeably better. And we actually stuck it. It's not very grippy over here. And honestly, that's the only time that I was able to, come into here and then stick it and then work back into this left side. Hell yeah. We're going to watch this one more time as well, just because entering this wave from this outside position is really been, I don't know, like it's my strong side, but I don't know if that's the 100% why it's better, just because it's my strong side. At the end, might as well show you this clip and we'll just watch it twice. But I don't have footage. Once it got dark, it got too dark. But I was able to drive into here on my strong side, and that was the best. And then what happens is when I drive in my strong side, I can keep everything flatter and then, push over into this wave. But almost like being on top and having weight on this wave maybe kicks me off, but then just kind of wedging the boat in. Because the other thing that happens being on this side is that this portion of the boat can't jump over there. And so if I do have momentum on this side, and this is the easiest side to have momentum because you have kind of a shoulder turn going into it. In other videos, I've talked about how this is a low side turn. So all that works to the benefit. And if I do pry, I'm pushing into this wave. Because when it really works is if I pry, push in, and then straighten out. And now we're straightened out. And even that wasn't even a very good one, but we're able to kind of stick it. All right, so we're done with that just because we got to get to the better clips. All right, hell yeah. In one of these, I go drive all the way across. On that clip, we just you bite. Here I'm trying to do a rotation. Now, I was able to do this rotation at lower flows. This one we're not going to spend too much time on just because it's not very grippy that direction. So we're done with that one. But we do rotate the other way, and it does have some possibilities. So this time we rotate kind of up into the wave. And I'm trying to get better at just kind of showing you the clip while I talk through it. Now that wasn't a rotation for a spin. I'm just trying to get across. But I do want to pause it right here because even at this flow, I could rotate in and throw the nose right up against this pile and then really throw the back end into the trough. Kind of like you're doing a low-sided shoulder turn into the trough. I think that would really work. Because once I'm up here, there's too much over-the-top momentum, and it's really hard to drive back in. You can kind of see how I just chill up here. Maybe work on getting a paddle stroke in and then really trying to pry the boat down into that. But that's really hard to shed, kind of that water going over the top is too much. A lot of water going up right through here. Okay, hell yeah. Let's see what we do here. Yeah, so this is the one where we actually get across. So we'll try to watch this a few times. Once we get over there, we don't do a whole lot, so that was a bummer. But hell yeah, at least we were able to get all the way across. So let's take a look all the way through on this one. Yeah, so just a little bit of straightening out, a little bit of bump. It's kind of fascinating. I'm going to talk about one concept. I tried to like AI Google stuff, but for rafting, and I figured they'd be up on point on kayaking, but I have a term where I call this like tacking up. And I think there's physics of it where you actually have viscosity of water that that two things like this might just push you out. But actually, in surfing, if you have contacted surface, see how when that releases, the boat springs back up. But see how like when it does bite, it actually drives in. And so I'm gonna go back and forth on this a few times because this is where I want the front of an R1 boat to be more like a kayak to exploit this. Like even this is driving in. I mean, the second that hits, you do get some momentum forward. Like obviously you're surfing forward, but when that bites, it purls and you get some upward torque, and you capitalize on that because half the game of surfing is the angle kind of attack, and you're increasing the angle of attack, and then that's going to drive the boat in. And so I think I'm 100% on point on that concept. It's just with an R1 boat, too much of this is just going to throw you up and out. But I call this tacking up, and I mean just because, let's watch this a few times, just because it's an R1 boat is almost defying physics to get it to do anything. And so that's why I'm just kind of fascinated with an R1 boat. And so hell yeah. And so the reason that this one worked, now I am coming in, I'm paddling on my strong side and then switching to my off side. So we do that switch right there. And then I straighten it out, but we do get a little tack and a little bump. But I am more straight on this. The others I was just trying to carve in at too high of an angle, and this has got so much roll off. And then hell yeah. And then there's a little bit of, so I can talk about this. We bite in and square up on this side still before this wave. So now my body is still low into this trough. Here's the line, this kind of like, shoulder turn line. We talked about how you do a low-sided turn. Well, that low-sided turn is going to be the easiest because you just have there's no elevation change. Like you're just low elevation the entire way. And so now that I'm on this, I'm going to bite into this wave, and that's going to, keep my momentum driving. So like right there, notice my body, it doesn't get up and over into that wave. So we can take a look at this. So hell yeah. So a lot of this is just being more on the left shoulder. And that's what I realized when I actually did this, is just like once I switched, I felt like I was really close over here, but that was a benefit. Just because there's too much current going up and over that wave, and it's kind of a bummer because it doesn't surf very well. But I'm fine with that. I'm just kind of learning, if just the fact that I can get over that is very impressive to me. And so hell yeah. And we're going to watch it one more time just to show those dynamics, and we'll move on. But anyway, stay farther on the shoulder. Use this lower path, kind of like a line of elevation. Look, there's no... you think you would want to actually get up here and then drive in. But once you're up here, this has got so much current rolling off the top. So we're going to try to stay away from this pile, stay close to the shoulder, use this pile to butt up against, and knock it on top. But try to just really work that all the way over there. All right, hell yeah. And then, like I said, I don't have footage, but right at the very end, we did a really good job of doing kind of that same move. And so that move was from the offside. So that was from this right side. But like I said, I have footage where this move goes on this left side, and that just makes sense because you're doing a low-sided turn. As long as you pry the boat and keep the boat straight, you get that other benefit of pushing up against this pile, and then having that, it's very difficult for a boat and its weight to get up something, and then so it really just drives you through. And again, I hope this stuff is impressive to people who care. Just because, just the concept of, everyone that's contributing to the R1 world, making a raft do something. If you can make a raft do anything, it kind of defies logic in a lot of different ways. All right, hell yeah. Now we're surfing. And so that time, that was cool because I'm using my skills. You know what I mean? But we just, the thing about this, let's watch it, but the thing about this is there's no wave over here. Once I'm over here, I can't get back. And so at least, I didn't flip or anything. But hell yeah, this is the main wave, and I know I want to spin off of it, so we do a spin, but we over-rotate, and then once I realize I'm over-rotated, I know to jump to this side, hell yeah. And this would be a great place for like some side surfs, but we just keep going. So I don't think there's any way that I could have saved that once I'm over here. Once I'm on that side, we're kind of pieced out. But we do save that surf, and we kind of stop that rotation. Hell yeah. All right, and then there's this second wave right here, and we'll talk about that when I actually use that wave to cross up over there. Half of R1 is just like, hey, can I even get my boat over into that eddy? All right, hell yeah. So this time, you know what I mean? I really think I can lean farther into this corner, lean heavier back, and then when I try to pry and spin the boat, the back of the boat doesn't engage. And this is where for surfing, the front of the boat, you actually kind of want a longer front, but for surfing, you don't need a big back end, a long back end. You actually want it fairly squat and then probably more square. But hell yeah, I was just thinking right here, I should be able to pivot off this wave and then pry and then do that shoulder turn, kind of that low-sided shoulder turn. And so that is something that I just would not be able to do. Or how am I going to say this? Like when I go back home, like right now, and analyze the footage, I can see that next time at 3000 CFS, if I'm trying to do this move, lean farther back, so get my boat up into that, pry the boat where it doesn't purl, and just try to shoot it across, and then, that's a lot to ask, but at least I would, there I'm just trying to use a skill from the lower flow wave and see if it works. Just kind of going through the motions, I guess. All right, hell yeah. All right, but the surf's over on this. Oh, and see, like right here, R1's exhausting. You know what I mean? Because you're just like, you work so hard and then, man, yeah, we just missed that one. So that's kind of a bummer. So this flow actually is kind of tricky because, I don't know, it just can kind of be exhausting if you're not going to catch things. All right, hell yeah. Hell yeah, we totally flip on this one. All right, let's watch that again. But we're trying to use some of the skills that we've attained from the smaller wave. Hell yeah. And I know the low side, but man, we just get, so this low side, I know the boat's going to go into a side surf. I know it's going to bite. I'm even trying to throw a pry in and low side my body. And we do effectively, but now from this footage, I just need to get back to the high side. And there's one that we save, actually, but this one we don't. So, hell yeah, I know Well, yeah, I'm just so into low side mode just because I don't want to get pieced out. And if I can stay on this wave, hell yeah. And we do stay on the wave from the perspective that we did a good job of low siding, but then we just didn't get our balance back. And then we just tip over. All right, hell yeah. All right, that right side of this wave does hold a kind of a straight surf. Let's see, we're in a fairly stable side surf. I'm just going to go back a few. So at least for my other footage, and now that I'm putting it in, I'll bounce and bounce, but at some point, this thing's going to right there. That's when it's going to tack, and you do have some time. So like right there, once I see that first, and then and you might recognize this when you're side surfing your R1 boats, is that you'll get kind of these splashy hits, and it's not going to bite, but then you just don't really know when it's going to bite. But hell yeah, once you see that, there is this delay before it really charges in and bites. And so that's where it's just like, that's where I could, duck dive even. And I think that is kind of what I want to do next time. Just because my paddle isn't really doing anything. And that's where I've seen a few of the other R1ers. I don't know if I want to kind of just name drop and stuff, just the people that are doing it. But hell yeah. Just for respect of like, hey, they're doing their own thing and I'm doing my own thing. But just, I've seen heavily high-sided with the paddle. And that's something where I need to, it's just like, yeah, turn my body this direction to the wave and get my paddle in a full, like, high-sided. Just because once I'm side surfing, I don't think I would be able to pull myself out anyway and just getting into that motion. So that's one thing that I want to practice. The other thing that I want to practice is just like, hey, when this happens right here, I need to like almost duck dive my head, grab the perimeter line, get my paddle square to the boat and just get ready for this buck. Because this buck, if you're any on this side, then it's too much. But that time we do really good. We know it's going to buck, and we go straight up, and I can still keep the boat. So hell yeah. So let's at least look at this all the way through so we can see what we do during this surf. So hell yeah, going for the side surf, waiting for it to buck. And I'm just like, hey, I know it's going to buck and I want to stay on this wave. So I'm trying to do a very good job. Like there, I did a good job of keeping the paddle in. So I just want to reference that. So it does buck, and like right there, I'm taking paddle strokes. I know I'm balanced, and so it bucks, but hell yeah, I'm finding that pile. And that's really important because R1, like second you get thrown out, it's almost impossible to get back in. So just, very quick with your paddle strokes. But that's also really hard to do. It's not until I watch footage that I can see how slow I am, after a stroke. Like, hey, I can, like even right here, this is almost the worst for an R1 design, where you go into a wave like this, pick up too much energy, and what happens is there's just too much front end. It's too buoyant. It doesn't spear in and then slide out. It spears in and then just gets pushed out like a tank. And that inertia, is too much. Where if it's more like a knife, you know what I mean? The water can displace, and then on the way back, it's not just pushing. And hell yeah. And this is interesting because I do want to work on playboat design where this does go vertical and you can have your feet more pushing into the nose. But this angle is too low anyway right here, and I'm just getting pushed straight back. I would love to get pushed straight vertical where you can actually, like, I don't know. Like the first vertical move I could think of is just go straight vertical and then jump for the back and then land in a 180 pirouette. All right, hell yeah. And it gets really dark. I did a comedy show tonight, and I was able to only surf for a couple hours. So hell yeah. And then did we do anything there? I don't think so. I think we just caught this wave. And this is the easiest thing to do. Just turn that smile. I call this kind of like working the smile of a wave. This is the easiest thing to do in the R1. Be on your strong side and then just really lean and let the boat turn back and forth on that. Your paddles really doesn't have to do much besides just a little backstroke and forward stroke. Hell yeah, but we get pretty dynamic. And then I'm just trying to try to low side. Oh, hell yeah. And we actually do save this one. And so, and we can talk about that in a second. But we do go in for another side surf. Hell yeah. A couple of them. Oh, yeah. Now, this is a good one. For sure. This is probably one of the best ones out of the whole 10 minutes. So there you go. Just really working, getting my body into a position of not getting kicked out. But yeah, you can see there's so much force getting kicked out. And that is attributed to kind of the R1 design. It's bulbous and, you know what I mean? And the second things, hook up, man, it just gets thrown out. But anyway, so this started with a very basic move of just kind of being on the high side, riding the smiley face around back and forth, and then I'm just waiting for the bite. So I noticed today that this left corner is the best corner to be in. So if I'm over in this corner, it's going to be, and I'm able to even, kind of let the boat shear through there and kind of ride back and forth, where I'm kind of stable over there. So let's take a look at this, what that first move is. I mean, just what the boat wanted to do. The boat's wanting to, right there. It's going to bite over here, but being in this far corner, then I'm on this bow, and then I know the back's going to hit, but that's good. The back will go buck, but then I will drive in. You definitely want this kind of dog bone style nature to R1 boating. And this is where, let's just watch this all the way through, just so I can talk about this, is that R1 boats are going to get kicked out too easily. And so if a portion of the boat gets kicked out, you want to be on the opposite corner of that. So I'm going to work to this corner, let the back hit. The back gets bucked, but then I can still stay on the low side. So the back is releasing all that energy. Right there, we almost got bumped because right there we're in line. I know I'm going to get bucked right here. This is where I teach jump to the opposite corner, so even like right here, I actually should be jumping to that opposite corner. And then let's watch this just a little bit. The only bummer about this other side is I'm not very, it's not very sticky over there. But I'm gonna say one thing. If I do roll back, so we're right here, and what's gonna happen is this gonna bite right on this bow. I should jump to the opposite corner, let the bow go up here, and then I can actually do a low-sided shoulder turn back in. I don't do anything, so this is one of those locations where it's just like, hell yeah, if I can be in the same situation, sure, my fundamentals say jump to the diagonal. If I am on the diagonal, this is going to get bucked to the top. I definitely want to drive that diagonal back in, and that is a low-sided shoulder turn. And so, hell yeah. So obviously it just bucks, and we're able to, I don't even do a good job. I don't even move my body towards the low side. We just, luckily, now I'm going to talk about this, because I'm just always trying to drive back in over this wave, and it's almost impossible. And so what I'm going to see from this footage is that if I take swinging strokes, so like sweeping strokes, and get the boat to turn, and this is what I would call an eddy turn, and this is where I just need to show you kind of the footage. But if I take big sweeping strokes, my boat's going to turn that direction, and that's the best way typically for me to get to shore. So let's say we did get pieced out. Hell yeah, I want to get to that eddy over there. I'm going to drive upstream towards it. So I'm going to make this turn with sweeping strokes. But the same thing to actually get into this, I can't get up and over very easily, but I can go to the sides where the elevation is low. So like over here, the elevation right here, if I was just at this elevation, I can slide right in. Same thing's happening every time you're on top of a pile. The shoulders of the pile are at a lower elevation, so that's where I need to be practicing. I have the potential, and I'm just saying potential, from being up high onto this pile just a little bit, even though it's kicking me off, but I have the potential to easierly like get my boat to the shoulders. And so that's what I picked up from this footage, just because even just right there, what happened in that 3 seconds is I'm up on a pyramid and the boat shifts down to a lower elevation anyway. So just might as well paddle my way over there, take some sweeps, and I might just get pieced out though, but take a sweep and then maybe take a pry. I don't know, but we'll see. All right, hell yeah. Oh yeah, and this was sweet. So yeah, once we do go for this, the surfers get in the way. But yeah, let's see where we're at. Yeah, so we're just heavily high-sided. And cool. So we did kind of a smiley face around. I'm into this corner. This side's hitting. And now I'm kind of just more square. But now I'm trying to low side my body. So on that one is, this is just basic side surfing or fundamental of side surfing, that if you're taking the hit and you're square, you can drop your body down into the wave. So, and then that'll keep you. So let's go through this. So it's going to bite. I'm going to go vertical and then try to drop my body down in onto this tube, and that's going to be the low-sided tube. Hard to tell if that's actually what I was doing and thinking there, but hell yeah. And we kind of get a spin in that process. And I'm just kind of always, and this one worked out sweet because, we spin and just really diving into these corners. What I'm doing here is trying to make sure the boat doesn't bite. And we'll watch this a few times just because I do have all the bells and whistles in this compartment. I do have the bracket that is kind of pushing down on the middle I-beam, and that is giving my boat more rocker. And so hell yeah, I just know that my boat's got kind of rocker side to side, but I'm always jumping to this pile to make sure the boat doesn't bite. And in that process, this is cool because we talked about how if it swings past here, I'm just pieced out, but we're able to, really hook up and then drive back into this wave. So just without even a paddle stroke. So that was kind of cool on that. And just really kind of work. The harder direction is to get over to that right side, actually. And this left side is the more retentive. I just really need to lean up against this pile. So even like right here, getting kicked out. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, this is just R1 design where you're just like, I don't think I'm, how to prevent this. That's just a lot of buildup. And so one of my designs is to make the boat V-hold. And so if I'm over onto this tube, I can't get farther over there in a neutral position. I might be able to duck dive or really try to lean, but there's nothing to lean on. This portion of the boat, there's no reason for it to be so tacky and so in the water. It's not useful, you know what I mean? So and that's what I was trying to do with the inserts in my boat, but we're working on a true V-shaped design. We'll see if I can get some winter. Winter time's hard because swims are really cold. Oh man, what the hell? All right, hell yeah. I just want to watch that all the way through. So we do a spin. We don't purl there, and then we save it. This is sweet, but just even right here, we just hardly go in at all, and then we bite No, it's like, it's this bite right here. That drives me crazy that one is the one that kicks you out. It's such a tiny bite, and it requires so much low siding or just different properties. Like I said, a V hole, where you're just normally on one side, the other side should be totally out of the water, almost 8 to 9 inches. Because even right now, hell yeah, that other side is 8 to 9 inches out of the water. You know what I mean? This is when I'm heavily edging and leaning the boat. But also what I've noticed is when heavily edging and leaning the boat, it actually dips and drags in, where a V design, I can just be on a neutral surface over here that's more planing, where that portion of the boat just is out of the water. So I think there's real benefits to that. That just might be a lot of talk, but no, I think that's legit, because I'm just like, well, when I'm heavily edged, why aren't the dynamics like smoother? And I think it's just more railed. All right, hell yeah, we're able to get the ISO on the DSLR camera. So did we do it that time? So this wave right here, we're trying to capitalize off of it barely. And I'm sure there's one other time, but if I am really trying to get up over here, I don't just want to, have the boat at this angle and then just get pieced out, and then just get stalled onto these waves and then just get drugged downstream. I have found in R1 that if I'm not able to surf through this trough, at least turn kind of like a half moon and be a 45-degree angle downstream. So that's what we're doing. We're trying to get an angle 45 downstream, and then hell yeah. But the only thing that we should have done here, I need to capitalize off this small wave, and as I'm coming through, if I'm on this downstream side, it's going to pull me downstream. So I can actually shift, and I'm trying to low side on this wave. So if I actually jumped early, I would actually be low side surfing this wave. And that's something that I just don't see, or I just think I might low side flip, but that's where I can get hella aggressive on that. And so, hell yeah. So just imagine that next time I will. I do jump to the left side, but way too late. And so there's an opportunity there to be like, hell yeah, I'm doing this. And like I really enjoy these videos, because it is the fundamentals of R1 rafting. They don't change. The same fundamentals for kayaking. It's just harder to see in an R1 boat, and it's harder to execute. Like even just this, just to be spatially aware that, okay, I am going to do a half moon, and I'm going to be, once I get kind of stalled out, I'm done with going across, I'm going to be 45 downstream. Even here, to get hella aggressive and try to low side on this wave, maybe throw a quick sweep, and then a low side, just get really onto this tube down into this trough, and then that'll hook in, and that'll be very useful to carry me farther over. Because if you don't do things right, you're just a mile downstream in an R1 boat. All right, hell yeah, let's see what we do here. All right, so yeah, that right side kind of straight surfs, and this is the one that I'm able to really kind of at least straight surf a few times. Now, my boat has when it takes in water, it doesn't drain. And we talked about that nose plugging, but there you go. So I can do that, and it worked good. And even right there, so that second time, just really working on getting to the back of the boat. And I really do appreciate the Colorado boaters that are kind of pioneering surfing from the back of the boat, because I just think you can do that with a normal R1 design. Anytime that you're and this is a shout out to, it's like even just like right there, every R1er can do that. Just lean farther back, and you're literally, you could even lean farther back. You know what I mean? But you can get yourself like you're in the back of the boat from the center compartment. So that's kind of what I would like to see more, because that is besides a redesign of the front, not to, you want it to be slicey and surfy. Surf in, like we said, surf easily in, easily out. The second time we bite. And then this time, I should have just jumped to the back. All right, we're done with that clip. But that gives me some ideas. All right, hell yeah. So yeah, we missed that. That sucks. But it is a little tricky to get over there. Yeah, and that's kind of interesting. This happens, like, we are trying to find the lowest line of entry, and then you're also looking at the current. You can't just go into faster current upstream, and then you'll just get all this momentum. Like even Eric Jackson has some basic videos of like taking your kayak in. You want these cutting angles. You don't just want to go up into the water, because then that water is going to carry you downstream. So yeah, just you almost like this is too much of a fast wall of water. But yeah, you almost want to cut early or kind of in and get drive kind of up over, then go too far upstream and get dragged back out. If I said that, if you could follow that. But hell yeah, it's just kind of fascinating. So I'm trying to do this right side, the wave side. That's my off side, and I can't even keep it straight. You would think heavily leaning onto this tube, it's not even biting, but yeah, that tube grips maybe. I don't know. Yeah, you just don't get a real nice surf and glide. You would think that you would get a good surf and glide being on that. So I'm kind of actually confused at the dynamics. So, but my R1 testing should be pretty sweet. We got 2 kayaks we're going to hook together, so you fundamentally should have really good water lines when it comes to testing that out. All right, hell yeah. And again, so I have 2 whitewater kayaks that I'm going to hook together and then do a V-shaped design and then, test that out. So, and I'd be able to test the water lines of that. All right, hell yeah. So we're going to watch this surf. This looks like a good one. Hell yeah, and that move right there. So we're going to pause on this move because I'm backwards. I don't know kind of what's going on, but I know that if I spin, if I don't stop this spin, so what I'm doing is so if I did a pry right here, which I kind of am right now, but like right now I'm locking that pry in. Now I'm doing, sorry about this. So right here, if I do a back sweep, I'm trying to get the boat to rotate more. So right now my paddle is helping the boat rotate more, and now I want to stop the rotation. So I'm taking my paddle and putting it right up against there, and to stop this rotation this way, I need to, I would have to, and this honestly confused me. This confuses me a lot. The boat's rotating this way. I always like to think of it, okay, if I did a forward paddle on this side, that would get the boat to rotate that way. So on this opposite side, I'm going to do a back paddle. And so I'm going to do a back paddle from the back of the boat is a pry. And so I'm going to take this paddle and pry it off that corner of the boat. And now it doesn't matter what direction I'm faced. I just know that I need to get my paddle into that position and pry. And this is from like a backwards position. So hell yeah, let's take a look at this. So we're going to be spinning the boat, prying it more, and then stopping its rotation. And then taking a backstroke, and that was critical because it's not very grippy over here. So this backstroke to kind of keep that, and we get pieced out. But there's one that we keep. So that's going to be the same dynamics for the one that we actually do that successfully. Could be this one. All right, hell yeah. And I know I have to get the boat to spin because doing those straight surfs, we just get pieced out. So let's take a look at that. That was pretty sweet. So going into a side surf, doing that low side. So we're trying to just get all of this momentum back in, even though we're almost on the verge of flipping. But yeah, that's the name of the game, knowing it's going to bite. And that time it didn't really bite. So let's see. So this is where it catches and purls. we're going to get carried in, we're going to go vertical, but now I can kind of stop that momentum by, even that last little knee, hell yeah. And this is pretty impressive, the fact that you can, this is just R1 dynamics. The only way you're going to stay in is maybe a redesign of the boat, or, go up vertical and then drop your body to the low side. Look at this. Else you'd just be pieced out. I'm not saying, look at it like it's impressive. I just look at the fundamentals, because you're just how do you not get kicked out? Hell yeah. And that's where, even a redesign, what could be redesigned? Well, look at all this pearl, it's so flat. And, you want more, I think you want more rocker tip to tail, just because that's gripping. This is a 10-foot boat, and it's a perimeter. It's gripping 14 feet of boat, 12 feet of boat, just in linear distance. And man, and it's too thick. I've really thought that you want these sides, you want any side profile to be the profile of a whitewater kayak, maybe a creek boat, but definitely not, I think this R1 rounded design should be kind of old hat. It's just really difficult to make inflatables that aren't circles. But yeah, because that's the issue that you have. You just have all this buildup that you're just I don't want that buildup. And then I got to low side my body just to even keep on that wave. All right, hell yeah. And then we keep that one. So hell yeah. So that's the dynamics of that. We're going to be rolling over here. We need to roll it around, but then stop that momentum. So we do a pry. We keep the turn going with this, I'm just going to say sweeps, and then we throw in the pry to stop it right there. Hell yeah. And then I'm able to bring that back around. And so that's huge, because that gets me back into a neutral position. And there's no reason, using the fundamentals, that you couldn't stay on this wave all day. I'm glad I'm saying that, because right there, those two hits were the hardest. It's the purling and then the high siding. So the side surf, and to keep that, just that small little, look at this. And it's all just R1 design, just round tubes. And, they're doing something that you don't want them to do. And that doesn't have to be a fundamental of R1 boating. The design of the boat, you're just hey, I was side surfing, and now, I didn't choose for this to just grip so hard, and then that time I don't have the ability to low side. It's almost a combination of a high side and then a low side. So it's high side so it doesn't flip, low side so it actually surfs back in. But hell yeah, that was a good one. And I even want to go back to this one, because we can kind of compare. This one had some good stuff at the beginning. All right, hell yeah. So let that spin. And even right there, so that's going to be a fundamental. It's hey, I'm doing half spins, 3/4 spins, but I know that's going to bite. If I know that's going to bite, get to the front of the boat. And this is what I was paying attention to. And then I know once this bites, gets thrown out, I'm still going to be surfing. And guess what? Hell yeah, we're still surfing. And so that's where there's a few of these deals with R1 boats that, with a little bit of a redesign, right there, did I want that? Hell no. I'm just trying to surf. And then so this redesign is just a V-shaped hole. There's no reason, I'm over on this side of the boat. There's no reason for that side to be so deep into that. You should have a 9-inch buffer. So hell yeah. But, we're able to at least use it. If that's going to bite, then we're going to have to swing the boat around, and we do. So hell yeah. So let's take a look at those two just to see. The first one's obvious. We just do, the boat's going to spin. The second one, we talked about how the back of the boat, and I'm going to be opposite of it. That's going to tack, so I'm going to go to the back corner, so I could see that from a fundamental. So hell yeah. So when this tacks, I know it's tacking right there. I want to be on the diagonal. I am on the diagonal, and I'm going to throw in a stroke to drive that in. And you can consider this a low-sided turn because it's hitting over there, and now I'm prying like from right here. This is a low-sided turn. I'm on the low side, and that is very grippy, you know, so I definitely know, and that requires me at some point on a low-sided turn to have to jump to the high side, but it works really well to jump to the high side and catch this into a side surf. Hell yeah. And then the dynamics here are, oh yeah, so and we talked about over here is just real surfy, so I can kind of control that, and we get pieced out. So that was a pretty sweet one. So, and there's only a few of these good ones, and so we're gonna take a look at this all the way through. So hell yeah, front surf, let it go, roll into a side surf, that back hits, jump to the, this is the one I have to jump to the diagonal right there, do a big pry low side, jump to the high side. All right, hell yeah. All right, and booyah. And this is the more impressive one because we actually do a new skill. I would say this is a new skill for me. Is when we do rotate. So that's a normal skill, but right here, when we do this rotation, stop the rotation and then drive it back the other way. Hell yeah. And I'm just kind of backwards to that turn, and it doesn't feel, you know, that's a new concept for me, stopping that rotation, prying off the front of the boat. Hell yeah, we're able to high side that one, but then that one just, no, it's this next one. So it builds up right here, and then just kind of kicks me out. So that can be easily changed with an R1 redesign. V-shape hole, I don't know. All right, hell yeah. So this is new. Moving on. So hell yeah. So that was oh, and then yeah, and so again, we're working on that move, and I was just really impressed. The only way I was able to do that move was to learn on the lower flow with all that other footage, you know. And we really don't capitalize. I mean, that's the only move we do. It'll be good. It'll help us long term stay on this wave, but I'm really satisfied. That was the whole point of kind of making this video. Is like, hell yeah, I need to stop that rotation. So like, hell, you know, because from that, and I'm so glad I had that first clip, because like right here, this thing just wants to spin out, and the second I'm over here, I'm toast. So what happens is that this thing's gonna spin out. What I know that I need to do is come back over to the pile and stop this rotation. Once I stop the rotation, and then we're going to surf back in. Now this is going to be a high-sided surf back in. I'm on the, because if it's going to surf this way, I'm on the higher side, but hell yeah. So we're able to stop that rotation. So let's take a look at this all the way through. Because the first part of this wave is like, hey, it's going to bite, and then it's going to throw me into a side surf. That's usually the easiest one because I know where the hit's coming from. It's either going to be hit left or right. Because this is a hit and I'm going to spin this way, I'm going to do the 3/4 and then, you know, sweep my way in, which is, you know, kind of a back pry sweep my way in, and then hell yeah. And just knowing that, you know, that first hit, it's a sweep back in. It's really powerful to keep you in because you are essentially, once you get past straight, your weight over there is doing a low-sided turn into this trough, which is you don't even really need a paddle stroke. Like, that is a very dynamic, I'm just driving motion, but you do need to jump to the high side again. So let's take a look at that all the way through. So it's going to bite on the left. I'm going to be 3/4, and then I'm the low-sided turn, jump to the high side, and then putting in that last. So yeah, so that's a culmination of like at least 4 things there. And then this last little one is just like booyah. Like right there is where, you know, that's a new move for me to be like, oh, hell yeah. Now I know to pry there and we can turn the boat. But look at my body's faced the other direction. It's real. I'm just kind of going by the feel of where I am in the wave. And so, hell yeah. So, like I said, there's only a few of these good clips, and so we're going to watch this. So, left's going to hit, jump 3/4, pry, low-sided turn, jump to the high side, stop the momentum, and then just kind of even back paddle. You know, I kind of knew that I needed to kind of back paddle to keep in that, and we do a really good job over there. And even right there, just knowing spatially, because the second you're just surfing on a wave, you are going to move laterally. And so, you know, that's something to pick up. It's very hard. It's like almost like Einsteinian motion. You know, you can't tell if you're just moving with constant velocity. That happens on a wave. You're just like, okay, I'm surfing. I really can't tell that I'm moving, like even right here, that I'm actually moving to the shoulder. Like I'm still on top, and then all of a sudden, like, oh, I'm on the kind of the shoulder of that wave. You know, and even though we kind of, yeah, over here I'm just more on that right side, and here's the pile now. So let's take a look at that motion. So hell yeah, just kind of trying to back paddle and just know that I'm moving farther over there. And we weren't able to save that anyway. So like, what should I have done? You know, once I'm over here, probably just try to do another low-sided turn, you know, so just really do a back sweep. And it's hard for me to think of it as a backstroke or a forward stroke, but hell yeah, just get this. I'm on that low-sided turn. Just do what you need to do, which is a sweeping stroke of the paddle on that side that I'm sitting on, and then just turn right back in. Because like I said, in that process of surfing from here to here, now I'm on that side where now I'm turning back in. And so that was harder to see, you know, in this moment. And you can kind of just see, it's just kind of like, don't know what to do. But that's what I was trying to do, is just like, hey, once this hits, because that's the other thing. The second I'm going backwards, it's like, hey, I just kind of want to have this hit, and then I can go, you know, turn it in a side surf. So that's kind of what I wanted to do. And it should have been fine right here, but this far side is harder to turn on. So this is going to hit and it's going to spin that way. But I'm not on the, no, and I would be on the 3/4. But this just hits so aggressively that I'm not able to paddle my way in. But I don't even think I tried really hard. You know what I mean? So that's just really hard to be like, hey, I know this is going to bite, jump to this corner harder, and then start paddling this corner in. Just because, look, the back of the boat gets thrown that way. I need to throw this corner in. And that's kind of like the, hey, looking at where this bites, I want to be on the diagonal, which is where I am. I just need to be more aggressively on the diagonal and then paddling that diagonal in. You know, stopping this momentum. This momentum can now get this boat into the trough. And you can see where the back of the boat is. It went from there all the way to there. And that's the point where I need to be driving that in. So hell yeah. So let's take a look at, you know, there's two options here. Low-sided turn, sweeping, we talked about that. Or just letting the boat bite and then just be more aggressive on that 3/4. And look, that was such a late turn. I mean, a late paddle stroke. You're just like, that's just what happens. You just try your best, watch footage, and then know that you can make those paddle strokes way sooner. All right, I'm curious just like what that was. All right, so I'm just, coming in to the wave. It's really hard to front surf this. So just seeing which way it bites. It's going to bite that way. I'm going to be on the 3/4. Hell yeah. Oh, and that was sweet because we actually do a switch. So I know it's going to bite, and I'm going to, and then just switch and then try to, so hell yeah. And then that's just a new stable position. And then what happens there? So once I get to this new stable position, this is kind of a low-sided turn because I'm turning that way. So I would need to switch my body if that's happening. So that's what I see right there. And with these low-sided turns, you can delay them. There's no reason, like, you know, the low-sided turn is so powerful to keep you in that I think I can stay on this low side, even take a driving stroke, from this back low side to get this boat down into the trough, to have it bite way over there. And then the second this bites over there, then that's more useful. And then I can ditch the low side, jump to the high side. But here I'm just doing it. I'm just showing you that it's a subtle process when you don't be aggressive, because the boat won't bite, because I'm jumping too soon to the other side, and then it just kind of sets up a side surf even. But that's kind of like setting yourself up for a side surf. You're just like, hell yeah, I want to kind of float in to this trough, do a low-sided turn, and then just hold this side surf. So that's kind of what we're doing right there. And we're using those low-siding techniques to stay in. Hell yeah. But we get kicked out. All right. All right, I'm sure we're doing pretty good for time. I wanted to spend an hour, you know what I mean? Maybe this is going to be an hour and a half, but I think this is useful because no one's going to just watch the footage, I think it's useful to kind of see what's going through my head. Hell yeah. So there you go. So I think even from that last one, like I'm realizing things on the fly, even during this session. It's just like, hell yeah, I need to drive to this corner, and start to, don't just drive over the top, take sweeping strokes, and take a zigzag path kind of, and because you're going to, like right there, I get to use that energy from being on top of this wave. I'm on top of a teeter-totter. It's not downhill because I got all the current coming in, but it is downhill sideways. Does that make sense? The current's going up and over the top, but the current ain't going sideways. So that vector physics, if you want to go sideways, hell yeah, you get to go sideways. And so, hell yeah. So those two strokes sideways really drive into that lower, and then it sucks me in. And so, hell yeah. So I was pretty impressed with that. All right, hell yeah. And then there's just, besides a redesign, of like a total stab of the front, like this one, from a playboat perspective, like you should be able to do something vertical here. You should be able to either use all that stab to go totally vertical, but this angle sucks. I would want to go more vertical, or just have it hella slicey, where you're going to actually stab and slice in, and then on the way out, it's not just going to do this. This motion actually is too aggressive either, and I can't even low side against it. And yeah, it's just kind of a bummer. All right. All right, so that's the one. Sorry, you need to watch this at least once, twice, and then but this is the one that I thought could go. The back end purls just a little bit, like right here. So this is where I need to be farther on the back. Because if I'm over here on this side and more straight, get it in deeper, and then be on this far back corner, and then like kind of throw it into this part of the wave, maybe like right here. So like right there, I'm just too... It's helpful to be, like we said, to be farther away from this wave because your gradient's flat. And that's why shoulder spins are easy, because it's just like, technically you're just spinning on an eddy, where they don't maybe look impressive. But the back of the boat dynamics, that's getting in the way. But I just thought this has a potential to go. So next time I'm going to try that. And again, that's going to be sitting on the wave side, leaning back, and then doing just a traditional pile turn. I'm going to call this a pile turn. It's not a low-sided pile turn. It's kind of low-sided because I do start, on this lower side and then kind of drive in using that momentum. But a true low-sided turn would be like, hey, you're going to be over here and then driving into the trough and getting some sort of angle. But right here, I'm just jumping to this side and then getting the angle. So, hell yeah. So this one could be set up just from the traditional side. And the traditional side is just, hey, when I'm spinning, I'm on the downriver side, I'm on the high side, I'm doing a traditional pry the boat 180, body switch, whatever, but hell yeah. So I just thought this one could go And that's all we should watch on that one. All right, this time I think we do a good job of that second wave low siding. Hell yeah. So that was an improvement even from the first. And I dug this session because I'm like in the moment I'm trying to realize, like what could I do? And like right there, it's subtle, but I know I'm going to hit this wave. I know it's not going to flip me. And so just shift early. And I don't even shift. Like the shift is late. I want to shift where my body is down into that trough. So hell yeah. But we do, this is the, kind of that, half moon, crescent moon. Need to come up with a better term, but kind of 45 in, 45 out. That might be a good way to look at it. So I'm at a 45 ferry angle like I'm going across. I know there's no way I'm going to ferry. This is just a very tough thing. So we're just trying to get across effectively. So 45 in. Before I stall right here, I want to be turning, and now I'm 45 across. Now I can use this momentum across. And then with that second, we go out of screen, but hell yeah, the goal is to get into that eddy as fast as possible. And I think we can. I think we can do this. That all looks good. Take a stroke there, maybe a quick half stroke, but then really jump to that low side like right now. The second this, I don't like I want this to hit and then jump to the low side, but I think we could do that just way sooner. Hell yeah. So one more time and then we're done with this one. So 45 in, 45 out, jump to the low side of that trough. Just get really aggressive, just right into that trough of that small wave. All right, so hell yeah, let it spin. Well, that was interesting because this is biting. 3/4 is over there. That's going to be a pry. But then all of a sudden, this bites. So and then so that's a new one. So hell yeah. So this bites 3/4, but I'm so low into the trough that I can throw the back end in now. Have this bite. Now I should be 3/4. What I'm saying is that if this bites right here, I need to be at the diagonal. So that's what I'm calling 3/4. I don't know why I'm calling it 3/4, but I'm just at the diagonal, and then need to have the backs, But anyway, so that's not what we did on that one. So this back is going to bite up and over. I need to actually forward stroke this bow, but that's not what we do, but it still holds on. It's because that's interesting. Oh, and maybe this is a fundamental that I need to be aware of, is that, hey, this is biting, and if I am on the diagonal, I can paddle against it. So if this is biting, the back end's going to want it to go over there. Don't let it spin, and then take this stroke and then pry against it. So anyway, I don't know if that's what's going on there. So we're going to bite that way, and then keep that momentum. That is interesting, but I think let's see, it's due to this motion first. Yeah, so that was the stronger motion. So this was going to do a full rotation, but it bites. But then I can keep that rotation going, keep going. So I'll throw that in my mental wheelhouse. Hell yeah. And then what happened there? Just trying to stay on the high side. Trying to keep that one. All right, that one's done. We'll watch it one more time though. So hell yeah. So classic, let the left side bite, try to do a spin, but then the spin gets stopped. But then, and then there is this nature of like, if the spin gets stopped, at least like maybe so the spin's getting stopped right here. This pushes me right there, and now I'm on the pile a little bit. The second I'm up on this pile, then you're on a pivot point. When you're down in the trough, it's not a pivot point. It's a place to purl. But once you're up onto this pivot point, then you can pivot the boat back in. And so I've definitely known that. So let's take a look at that. So just from the last few videos. So because this happens, your turn will stop, but then you would like to continue it more, and you can let the boat. What you want to do is, even on those smaller waves, is set up your spin. It's going to stop. Allow that to kick you to the pivot part of the wave, and then continue your pivot. So hell yeah. So let's watch this one more time. So hell yeah, and then we'll move on. So we're gonna initiate the turn. Turn's gonna stop, ride to the top, and then finish that turn. Hell yeah. So that's what we did there. All right, booyah. All right, hell yeah. Start the turn back the other. Yeah, that's a bummer. We probably could have saved that. So we're trying to turn this way. This far side over there, it's surfer's right. So that far side is just hard to do any sort of turn. So maybe just really jump to the diagonal. Jump to the front of the boat, but just on that diagonal, and really kick this front in. But holy Toledo. Yeah, that sucks. Might as well watch why that did not work. So we're going to spin and then spin the other way. But yeah, that's okay. So yes, that's fascinating. So we're going to do a pile spin. You have this pile. It's kind of that smiley face. Bring it around. And then just do the opposite spin. But it's because that portion of the boat just builds up way too much. There's not a lot of space over there. And so I think the thing to work on that, if that's, like here, I can just be neutral. This turn, this smiley face, this first turn, I can just be pretty neutral in the boat. But if I'm going to go over here, what I can do is I can release a lot of this by just jumping to the front corner, just being way more aggressive, knowing that's going to bite in that direction, jump to that front corner, release all that stuff, be on this front nose, and then paddle that nose in. So I think I'd be able to do that. Hell yeah. And we're done with this clip. Alright, I need to see. We're probably almost done. Hell yeah. We got one more minute of footage. It's getting pretty dark, but booyah. So thanks for sticking with me on this. This is kind of the first format that I've done this where I was just like, hey, we got this. We got an hour. We can go over all the... And then I'm just done. I can be done with my footage. I learned what I wanted to learn. I can go back and then hone these skills instead of just doing the same stuff. All right, what was that? So we're surfing, we're letting it spin. So there you go. So that actually shows it, man. So we're getting spin that way, and then I want to spin the opposite way. And then so I really do, I even throw that stroke in. That's fascinating. Let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at it from the beginning, because we just do some straight surfing. That straight surfing has to be angled to the right. So there you go, angle to the right, angle to the... I remember this one. Hell yeah. So we're going to angle to the right. It's really hard. So the second we angle to the left, it's very difficult to keep that. So there's that left one, but then I want to turn the other way. Ooh, yeah. Sorry for not letting you watch this, but hell yeah. So we do a pivot and then a body shift, throw in a paddle stroke. So there you go. So we do a pivot, a body shift, throw in a low-sided, see how this month, the most important thing of R1 boating is the low-sided turn. And shout out to, it's Sean. I'm just going to say first name Sean. I have a hard time saying his last name, but yeah, the R1 solo boater on the Colorado at, it's bottom of Gore Canyon. That wave, he did one turn, which was a low-sided turn. And it goes so much better because he's been, ramping up his game for surfing. But that low-sided turn, and then so because I'm on this low side, paddling on the low side, it gets your boat lower into the trough. And that was the inspiration to see him do that turn. And I was just like, because I was mentioning to him to get more dynamic, be up on top of the pile, drive into the trough. That sets you up. The second you drive into the trough, like now you have the time to do a trick. That's almost from like skateboarding, like if you're trying to do, any sort of trick, you have to like give yourself that time, like, and hell yeah. So enough said there. But yeah, this low-sided, being on this heavier tube, driving it in, you're turning towards the right, and it's just for a fraction of a second, and I don't even probably am spatially aware of, but I do a body shift. It doesn't even look like I'm actually prying. It's kind of fascinating, but just this body shift alone, this is driving the boat that way. This low-sided turn doesn't even need a stroke sometimes, but now I'm setting that up. Then I jump back to the high side, and I was just noticing that I jump to this corner, which is even better because none of that touches. The difference is huge. This low-sided, it doesn't bite because you're actually driving maybe, kind of up and across, and you're delaying, like right here it bites just a little bit, but not at all. And you're delaying that purl, because the second you do get the boat to turn, you are jumping to the high side, and even that has dynamics, because jumping from one side to the other, the physics of that is like running in a canoe from front to back to front. Jumping from here to here shoves the boat, and in that shoving process, it's never like a diving process. It's always a shoving and releasing, because this tube was weighted, now it's not weighted, and now it's getting shoved in that direction. So you actually surf this tube over. So yes, the low-sided turn is so powerful for R1, just from this fact that R1 is, it's almost an impossible thing. But anyway, hell yeah. So that, and then even just jumping on that. So those two you can compare. So let's watch that. So hell yeah. So we're going to turn that way, body switch, and then it happens so fast, but those dynamics are going on in that, even though like I don't even do a low-sided paddle stroke. I just jump to that low side. So hell yeah. And then let's take a look at that one more time, just because it's super subtle. So we do some straight serves. We're going to get kicked to the left. That's going to set up a diagonal turn, body switch. That body switch sets up a low-sided turn the other direction. Have to jump to the high side. I jump to the back. Nothing purls there. So it actually is kind of a groundbreaking thing for me to be like, hey, I want to do more spins off this left side. I'm calling it that side, the left side. That's the river left side, but that's the surfer's right. So just that far side. But hell yeah, that motion did not make this boat bite at all. So yes, low-sided turn, jump to the high side, nothing's biting. Jump to this corner, it's still spinning. Perfect. I spun on that far side. That's really incredible. And then kept it. So let's even talk about how I kept it, because I jumped to this. Yeah, that's interesting. Because we do the body switch. It's very fast, a low-sided turn. I instantly jump back to the other side. Don't have to paddle switch because it's a 180. Because I am on this side, I am low-siding. I'm wanting the boat to do a 180, and then I want to finish on this side. So it's a low-sided turn. I need to jump to the high side. And typically you need to jump to the high side and then do a pry, but this time I don't even need to. It's just the actual motion. So that's the cool thing about the low-sided turn too. You can get all your turn done. Yeah, that is really impressive. I mean, just very unique. So just the fact, and I'm doing a pry here, which may be no, that pry isn't useful at all. I still want this boat to turn that way. The only reason this pry is, I mean, that's kind of what I did there, but not really. I give up on it real fast. The boat's spinning. I have to jump to this side now. I'm on this side, and then I can just, and it's interesting because I'm here on this low-sided turn, and then I just jump to this side, and then I'm in a side surf position, and then I just continue rotating my body. So that's the other thing with this. The boat is rotating clockwise, and I am probably rotating counterclockwise. Yes, as the boat's rotating clockwise, I'm maintaining, square with the river, and then I'm actually rotating counter from here to there, even though you can't see it very well. Now I'm locked in, and so that's interesting, and that is the easiest way to do a body shift. Is like you're like, hell yeah, the boat's rotating that way, I'm going to rotate the opposite way. But rotates clockwise, I got to rotate counterclockwise. All right, hell yeah. All right, so that was good enough to go over the dynamics. All right, so that's what we got. One more surf, probably 30 more seconds. Oh, and then that one, hey, I got pieced out, and I that's why I've been trying to save these footages of like, hey, do I ever get to this eddy, more efficiently? So we do get pieced out. What do we do? So perfect. I'm taking, maybe I'm aware, but I'm taking forward strokes, slow the momentum, and then turn the boat that direction. And so, hell yeah, slow the momentum and then turn the boat. This is that's kind of what I learned from, the last couple of years is like, hey, the second I'm getting pieced off, turn the boat upstream and then total 90. Do sweeping strokes just to get the boat going 90. And that's, yeah, so that one was perfect to get into that eddy. Hell yeah. All right, straight surf, probably going to get kicked left in a second. Now we just get pieced out on that one. Yeah, so that's where a redesign on that is just make your boat more like a paddle cat. So that's the footage. But hell yeah, this has got a slice in, slice out, slice in, slice out. Too much water, but it's not even the water that fills up. It's literally the rounded tubes. Like all that is not slicing in, and on the way out is just diving and then getting pushed. And it's just, that's too much to overcome, let alone you don't want all that water to fill your bow either. So just a lot going on there. But hell yeah. Okay, so thanks for joining me on this one. It was a great day surfing. I learned a lot. Looking forward to getting back out there. And just like, hell yeah. This is such a great time for me just because there's so many little skills that I can work on and be successful with. And that's kind of the interesting thing. And the only way I'm going to be able to do, to excel faster with these little skills is to film myself and see where I can make those improvements. Get a paddle in faster, rotate a different direction. All right, hell yeah. So thanks for joining me on this one. Booyah.